Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about the Bardock's crew support coming out in Evolution Booster. If you guys have been following the channel for a long amount of time, you would know that I'm a really big fan of this archetype. I played it for a long time, did some cool things with it as a rogue deck back when like Shugesh was still a card, so that's pretty funny. But I really love this archetype. It's like the perfect example of a mid-range deck. It's just trying to wear the opponent out of resources. You're not too fast like an aggro deck. You're not like perfectly a control deck, but you are trying to play some controlling elements. I love this strategy. I want to talk about what they're doing with the Bardock's crew support coming out in Evolution Booster. That being said, guys, if you are new here, definitely subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. And if you guys want to help support the channel, there are many links down in the description that will help out. Particularly today, if you want to buy or pre-order any of the cards you see in today's video, be sure to use my link in the description to TCG Player. It does help the channel out a lot. I really do appreciate it. That being said, let's get started. So for any of these decks that are getting support from Evolution Booster, not like newer archetypes like Nappa or anything like that, but these older archetypes that are getting support from Evolution Booster, they seem to be directly, for those older leaders. I don't think we've really seen any like, rebooted type of leaders or leaders for already established archetypes. So it kind of makes sense that they're probably just going to want you to use this leader with the Bardock's crew stuff. I still say I wish we had a blue-yellow Bardock's crew leader, but they're probably going to stick away from making surge leaders for quite a while. But anyways, let's give this leader a read because it seems to be the one that we can play with our archetype. You could also play some generic blue leaders. Not all the stuff does require a Bardock's crew leader specifically, but some of it does. So auto burst 2, attack, draw 1, gains 5k. That's actually pretty good because you can attack a unison that's 15k and still, draw and burst. Back then, because they had the kind of detriment of bursting, they didn't require these leaders to attack leaders, but you'll see older leaders that do attack and draw, they have to attack a leader in order to do that. So kind of a way the game has evolved since then. Awaken at 4 or less, untap 2, also not bad. Auto sparking 5 on the awakened side. When this card attacks, draw 1, gains 5k. Still pretty good. Auto though, when this card is attacked, if a Bardock's crew card's in your drop area, you may choose one card from your life, place it in the drop area. If you do, negate the attack. Okay, so this actually was like a niche leader people used back in like Shenron Gogeta format, because when they would like triple attack you with triple strike and take your hand away with Gogeta 7, you could actually just like crit a life to get the attack, and that's not even once per turn. So that's also a neat effect. But the fact that you can only do it when you're at like 4 or less life is a little bit difficult. Like, this is almost comparable to the yellow Jiren leader, but that obviously came out far later in the game. That leader takes 1 life to negate all damage in a turn. This crits a life to negate 1 attack at a time. So you can see how the power scaling there is a little bit weak in terms of Bardock versus Jiren. But anyways, let's talk about some of the new cards they are printing for this stuff. We have SS Bardock, Never Ending Vengeance. This is a 5-drop blue-yellow Bardock's crew Bardock. Energy Exhaust, unique barrier. Notice it's a 1 energy 5k combo, but permanent if you have a Bardock's crew card in play. Reduce the combo cost of this card in your hand by 1. So it's a free blue-yellow combo. We do actually already have this in the form of, I think it's Rapid Fast Hit. I think it might be the name of the card. It's basically a blue-yellow hit that's also 1 energy 5k, but it becomes a free 5k if you have blue-yellow energy charged. Now, you would probably play this one over that in this particular deck because it is a Bardock's crew. It does synergize more so with the rest of your deck. We did also get Bardock Legends Origin, which is actually a really good arrival that came out of Draft Box 6. Basically, if you have a blue Bardock's crew in play, he negates his energy exhaust. He's also a blocker. And then at the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode, and if your leader's a blue Bardock's crew card, draw 2. So just having a battle card that draws 2 for your specific leader is definitely quite a good draw to the deck. But it wasn't really a great way to get this guy into play, except for Zamasa super combo or maybe that rapid fast hit that we were talking about. But now there's an in-archetype searchable way to get that going. Only a little bit weird. It requires you have a Bardock's crew card in play. Like, don't get me wrong, there are a ton of Bardock's crew 1-drops, but if you're playing multicolor, it could be just a little bit weird to, put those in play early enough, because the game will probably end anywhere from like turns 3 to 5 depending on what deck you're playing against. So you just want to keep things like that in mind. But you might not even charge multicolor turn 1 in this deck because you have cards like Legends Origin that negate energy exhaust when you have the Bardock's crew in play. So you could go like turn 1 charge blue, play a 1-drop, get all these things set up, and then eventually charge this guy without energy exhaust. But let's read the other effect on Never Ending Vengeance. So activate main, pay a blue and 1 colorless. If your leader is a Bardock's crew card, choose 1 Tora's Red Armband or Assault of the Great Apes in your hand, activate it, then negate the skill for the game. So those are 2 extra cards that are actually 4 cost. so you do get to cheat them out. And just keep in mind, there are plenty of ways that Bardock's crew has now that cheat out 5-drop Bardock. So it's not like you'll be casting this Bardock for 5. You'll be playing him through various other effects depending on what the situation is. But let's take a quick look at the extra cards we can play with that Bardock. Torres Red Armband, an older extra card that came out in the same theme booster as the leader itself and the rest of the archetype. Activate main. If your leader card's a Bardock's crew card, choose 1 blue Torah in your drop and send it to the warp. There are plenty of those that you'll probably play. Draw 4 cards, choose up to 1 final strike Bardock in your battle area, switch to active mode. It gets plus 10,000 power and double strike for the duration of the turn. At the end of the turn, choose up to 1 of your energy and switch it to active mode. Okay, so when this card came out, it was even raising eyebrows, right? Like, immediately you redraw forward. You're like, wow, that's kind of insane. Restand your Bardock, which actually triggers your opponent to put a card in their hand at the bottom of their deck. He becomes a ginormous 35k double strike barrier threat. This deck has a lot of good things going for it. I really do like the strategy, and that's some of the reasons why. Casting this thing for 4, though, was definitely quite expensive. So you have that Bardock's now cheated out, but if you've cheated out your main boss monster Bardock, final strike Bardock, as well as this other 5-drop Bardock, I mean, you spent a lot of resources to most likely do that. So that just gets, I don't know, a little bit weird. But regardless, let's read Assault of the Great Apes. So activate main. This is actually a new card coming out in Evolution Booster. If your leader is a mono blue sand card, so this is kind of some of the newest stuff. They're not requiring to actually use the Bardock's crew leader. You can play this with like Soul Striker or some other blue leader if you wanted to. Place up to 2 mono blue battle cards with energy costs of 5 or less that are both Great Ape and Bardock's crew from your deck to your drop area. Then shuffle your deck and play up to 5 mono blue battle cards with energy costs of 5 or less that are both Great Apes and Bardock's crews from your drop area. At the end of your opponent's next turn, choose all blue battle cards that are both Great Ape and Bardock's crew in your battle area and send them to the owner's warp. So there, I think there's another card that's somewhat like this that they try to experiment with that like cheats out a bunch of guys, then warps them at the end of the turn. I think that was another Bardock's crew card. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're trying that again here with Assault of the Great Apes. 4 energy to play 5 battle cards. Honestly, that's a pretty good rate. Now, yes, this can get hit by certain counterplays. Like if your opponent's playing red and for some reason they have Denial of Hope, your entire play just got shut down. Crusher Ball, yeah, kind of the same thing. They do shut it down. But if you're cheating this out for 2 with the 5-drop Bardock we just read, that's not that bad. But to be 100% honest, the way I think I'm going to build the deck at least, I think you're probably not even going to try to play that 5-drop Bardock we just read. I think you're probably going to use him for his free combo so you can get the other Bardock onto the field. That's just what I'm thinking right now. I haven't put a build together yet, but that's just kind of my thoughts at the moment, having read this stuff. Next up, we have Geen Heroic Support. She is another new card coming out of Evolution Booster, actually a super rare. Auto Sparking 5. If your leader is a blue Bardock's crew card or heroine cards, keep in mind they are requiring this to be used with a Bardock's crew leader. When this card is using a combo from your hand, add 1 blue Bardock's crew or 1 heroine card from energy to hand. And if you do add 1 mono blue Bardock's crew or 1 heroine card other than copies of this card from your drop area to your energy in rest mode. So notice how your leader bursts on the unawakened side, right? So by doing that, you're putting Bardock's crew cards in the drop area. So this kind of just says you can charge Bardock's crew cards you don't necessarily want to charge early, which is not too bad because you could actually charge Final Strike Bardock early and pick it back up later because you will want it in your hand later on. And when you do that, you just replace energy with a Bardock's crew in your drop area. So that's pretty good. It's almost like a combo that, you know, allows you some setup, which is okay. The activate main says if your leader's a blue Bardock's crew card, you send this card from drop to warp, which again, we are a burst leader, so this can end up in the drop area numerous ways. Add 1 Torres Red Armband or Assault of the Great Apes from your deck to your drop area to your hand, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So this is obviously meant to combo with that 5-drop Bardock we read a little bit earlier, the new one coming out in Evolution Booster. It searches the extra cards, which he can cheat out from your hand for a cheaper cost. That in and of itself is 3 energy total when you're combining, you know, using both of their skills. On top of however you cheated that Bardock into play originally. That's one of the problems with Bardock's crew. They're trying to create all these like convoluted combos that cost you a bit too much when other decks in the format have better combos for honestly less energy. So that's why I think I might steer away from this type of combo with the deck, but I'll probably try it out, see what I think about it. But as of right now, I feel like it just costs a bit too much energy and a bit too much setup because you got to see a lot of specific cards to make this all work as well. Keep that in mind. Next up, we have Tora, Keeper of the Red Armband. So we do have another Tora card, which is good because for a red armband, you want to have Toras in the drop. This is a 1-drop blocker auto. If you lead a card's a blue sand card and your opponent has 2 or more energy, when this card's moved from battle area by an opponent's skill or KO'd via his own blocker, choose up to 1 blue Bardock with an energy cost of 4 or 5 in your hand and play it in rest mode. Okay, so another way in draft box 6, we got tons of ways to cheat out our Bardocks, from the hand. There are several apes that do it. I think there might be an extra card that does it. There's quite a few cards that came out in draft box 6 that allow you to cheat out the Bardock from your hand, and this is another one. From my recollection, this might be the easiest, most efficient way to do that. So this card really good for the archetype. And again, another reason why you might not want to charge multi on turn 1. You might want to play this guy on turn 1, and then on your next turn when you have an energy, block with it to get your Bardock into play. This will also be your Bardock's crew in play that will negate your Bardock Legends energy exhaust, so that does work quite well. And next up, we have some 5-drop Bardocks for that card specifically to play. We have Bardock Great Ape Assault, double strike blocker, EX evolve for 2 blue over a blue Bardock with energy cost of 2 or more. Permanent, when using this card's evolve skill from your hand, you can choose battle cards in your energy and play this card in active mode. And then it says if your leader's a blue sand card, when a card in your energy evolves into this card, draw 1. Then at the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode and place the top card of your deck in your energy in rest mode. So you probably aren't gonna want to play this with that Tora skill because he gets the majority of his effects when you evolve him over a card in your energy, and he does replace that energy, which is pretty good. But he has an option if you want to put a blocker and play off the Tora. But besides that, we have the OG Final Strike Bardock, barrier permanent, only 1 can be in play in your battle area, basically has unique auto when this card switch from rest mode to active mode. If your leader's a Bardock's crew card, your opponent chooses a card in their hand and places it at the bottom of the deck. So that's what I was talking about before with like this being like a really good example of a mid-range deck. You're just playing your boss monster out. You're just trying to wear your opponent's resources slowly but surely and chip away at them and then eventually go for game when you're good and ready to do that. So you probably will play this card in the deck. It seems like more of the stuff now is aiming to support this guy, and a lot of the draft box 6 stuff as well does support him. We did do an entire video talking about the draft box 6 Bardock's crew stuff, so I won't really like rehash that all here. But also keep in mind, you can, once again, play this 5-drop Bardock off of that Tora, so that is an option. Again, I just think it's, I don't know, I mean, how many Bardocks can you really cheat out in a game? You want to play this guy, you want to play the Final Strike, you possibly want to play the 5-drop Ape we just read. So, like, are you really going to spend one of your opportunities to do that to play this guy? I don't really know. I think it gets a little bit tough when you're trying to do that. And it's also weird this activates Armband from hand when he himself is not an armband target, because you have to have him and Final Strike Bardock to really make use of that. It just gets weird. But a card that's getting a lot of hype right now, Desperate Warrior Super Saiyan Bardock. This card I think just got bought out and like really spiked in price. I'm positive it'll go back down in price. Just be patient, wait on that, and it'll happen. But anyways, let's give it a quick read. This is a card from set 3. EX evolve, place 2 cards from hand in the drop area, evolve over a yellow Bardock with energy cost of 5 or more. Permanent, if your opponent has 6 or more energy in rest mode, the card gets plus 5,000 power and triple strike. And then auto, when a card evolves into this card, choose all of your opponent's battle cards and energy and switch them to rest mode. Admittedly, this is a pretty powerful effect. So gaining the triple strike and then tapping your opponent out back in set 3, like no one was ever actually pulling this off. Like I built a really janky deck back then that could do this, but it wasn't consistent at all because back then you actually had to pay 5 for a Bardock to get into this guy. It was really strange. But regardless, this is an okay combo. Again, you can cheat out this 5-drop yellow Bardock, but is this really going to be the whole gimmick of your deck? It doesn't have protection. Like the 5-drop has barrier, but the 7-drop does not. So green is going to eat this alive. Even blue could possibly interrupt this pretty well. Maybe even yellow to a degree. So it's cool. I think it's nice that this card's now playable. Like it could even be good side deck, to be quite honest with you. Like if you're playing Bardock's crew, this could be good side deck against black or red. Like these colors that can't really interrupt this. But besides that, probably not going to be super main deckable if I'm being honest. But anyways, guys, all this conversation just kind of brings me back to the leader. The number one thing I wish they would do this leader, besides making a blue-yellow one, which I understand is probably not on their radar at the moment. If this leader had an in-archetype results of training, that would be so good. I think it would actually make this leader very, very playable because you'd be able to use the ability to negate attacks without really, having much of a downside. Like, this leader is so old and so obscure that I think just giving it an in-archetype results training, I don't know, maybe make it cost 2, maybe make it cost 3, I don't know, whatever you want to do. It can't be 5. If it costs 5, it's way too much. Like, results training is already a card. but you're not going to make it turn 5 and be above 4 life. It's just not going to happen. So I think that would be a really cool thing they could do for the archetype. All the stuff I've read today is really cool. It could do some things. I do have some ideas. I'll probably put a list together and bring it to you guys here on the channel. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I do want in the comments below what you think, and I'll see you next time.